Live from Fargo and serving you on TV, online, and on the go. This is Valley News Live at 10.
Driving can oftentimes be a stressful situation. It's important to keep your cool. Over the weekend, a man became outraged on 13th Avenue South in Fargo. Valley News Team's Katie Opperly has more on local road rage and how it could end up costing you.
This video of a man in Fargo getting out of his car, yelling and throwing an item at another vehicle has gone viral online.
I don't know what happened up to it because it was just his reaction, but it was probably a little too much. It was a little too extravagant of a reaction.
It has people shocked that this type of action could happen in their area.
It does surprise me because the way our roads are laid out, it's square and there's stoplights, so I don't see the chance of even someone getting that mad.
But it's more common than some people might think. There have been more than 30 road rage incidents reported since the beginning of 2018, 4 of those being this year.
They feel confident because there's that piece of metal in between you and them, and they drive away and they think they're being cool, but it's not cool.
This type of reaction, where emotions run high, could have some serious repercussions. While there are no specific laws in North Dakota against road rage, Highway Patrol says road rage or other similar behaviors could fall under a number of categories, ranging from a traffic violation to a criminal offense.
Just think about the other driver and say, you know, you might have made a mistake one day too, and just chill and relax.
And it could be even worse than a ticket or even an arrest. Driving rashly could result in an accident where someone could be seriously hurt. It's recommended that you take a moment to calm down. That split-second decision isn't worth the repercussions. In Fargo, Katie Opperly, Valley News Live.
Fargo police say they're looking into the road rage incident that happened over the weekend. A Minnesota company is reporting a data breach for hundreds of restaurants and coffee shops, and some of the businesses affected are located in Fargo and the Valley. North Country Business Products found that hackers potentially accessed cardholders' names, credit card numbers, expiration dates, and security codes used at certain restaurants and Dunn Brothers locations between January 3rd and January 24th. Customers who made purchases at breach-impacted locations should keep a close eye on your accounts. Now here's a list of the businesses impacted in eastern North Dakota and Minnesota. Dunn Brothers Coffee of Fargo, Devil's Lake, and Bemidji. Tacos Trumpo of Fargo, the VFW of West Fargo, and Vinyl Taco of Grand Forks. We now know the identities of the deputies who responded in Hubbard County to the shootings that left 3 people dead and one of the officers wounded. Steth Kuhn is the officer who discharged his firearm during that incident in Nevis last Thursday. No one was hurt. And Deputy Eric Ripkema was injured when he was fired upon by Bryce Bellamo during a pursuit. We learned from family members who said that Bellamo opened fire on his 2 sister-in-laws, Candy Gucci and Heidi Pierce, while they were inside their vehicle. He then drove off in their car with one of the sisters in the passenger seat. Investigators say he eventually got out of his vehicle, continued firing at officers. Bellamo then returned to his car, and that's where he died. Today, we found out that the suspect wounded in the officer-involved shooting over the weekend in the Northern Valley was transferred from a Grand Forks hospital to a hospital in the Twin Cities. The incident took place just off of Highway 2 and 34th Street, where neighbors that we talked to today say they couldn't believe something like that happened so close to home. The names of the man wounded or the officers involved in the gunfire exchange have not yet been released. More details are expected tomorrow. I wouldn't call it rage, but I would certainly say that there's plenty of frustration out there over our continued cold weather. Sure would be nice for some kind of a warm-up just to give us a little hope. Hutch, come on, buddy. You can do that, can't you?
Well, yes, as a matter of fact. But tonight, it's still another very chilly one out there as we look in on the NDSU heating plant near the NDSU campus. Temperatures are falling very quickly. 7 below right now in Fargo, 8 below Devil's Lake, and wind chills tonight will be dangerous. Under mostly clear skies, we do have a wind chill advisory for many of our counties in northwest Minnesota and eastern North Dakota. Temperatures on their way down to around 12 below during the overnight hours. As our wind shifts direction and becomes southerly, we'll actually see a bump in temperatures as we go into the morning hours, but not a significant bump. Mike, this radar screen hour-by-hour forecast shows some measurable snow coming to portions of the valley. So have your shovels ready, and well, I'll give you the details in your forecast here in a few minutes.
A little hope later?
There is hope for warmer weather.
Okay, we'll take that. Thanks.
All right, you bet.
Still no sign of a stolen pickup from Moorhead with an attached plow. This truck was taken sometime between Friday night and Saturday afternoon. It was parked in the Moorhead Industrial Park at 20th Avenue and 25th Street. It's a blue-gray GMC Sierra with a Boss plow attached to the front. It does have North Dakota plates, 891 CBR. Anyone with information urged to call police. A hotel spa could be to blame for several people getting Legionnaires disease at a Crookston hotel. The Minnesota Department of Health says 4 people became ill the last week of January after visiting the Crookston Inn and Convention Center. Investigators aren't sure but suspect the hotel's spa is the likely source. The hotel says it's working to notify all guests that stayed there between January 14th and February 13th. The disease is spread by inhaling fine mist from water sources containing the bacteria, and symptoms of the disease include fever, chills, headache, and muscle aches. Minnesota has joined a multi-state lawsuit filed by California's Attorney General against President Trump's emergency declaration to fund a wall on the U.S.-Mexico border. California's AG said today that 16 states, including Minnesota, allege the Trump administration's action violates the Constitution, adding that there is no emergency at the border. The president declared a national emergency to fulfill his promise of completing the wall. The move allows the president to bypass Congress to use money from the Pentagon and other budgets. Minnesota Attorney General Keith Ellison issued a statement today saying, in part, the president is harming the people of Minnesota by forcing this constitutional crisis. Minnesota U.S. Senator Amy Klobuchar is getting a lot of national exposure after her presidential announcement last week in a Minnesota snowstorm. Last weekend, she campaigned in the Midwest. Today, she was in New Hampshire. Klobuchar told voters at the Goffstown, New Hampshire Tavern she's tough enough to beat President Trump, outlining a platform that includes overturning Citizens United, reinstating the Voting Rights Act, rejoining the Paris Climate Accord, and getting the path toward the public option for health. Senator Klobuchar doesn't back Medicare for all, but she says she supports allowing Americans to buy prescription drugs from Canada and expanding Medicare and Medicaid.
The pharmaceutical companies, they think they own Washington, right? And they do own a lot of people, but they don't own me, right? They don't own you.
Klobuchar is telling voters that she's from the heartland, pitching what she calls heartland economics, a focus on rural jobs and health care. North Dakota's House today passed bipartisan legislation intended to collect data on missing and murdered people. The measure was sponsored by Fargo Democratic Representative Ruth Buffalo, who is the first female Native American Democrat elected to the state legislature. The bill initially included missing and murdered Native Americans in North Dakota. She expanded it to include all people. Buffalo says the state does not collect data on missing people, and the issue of missing and murdered Indigenous women is a nationwide crisis. It heads to the Senate for consideration. This was a busy day for medical marijuana legislation in Bismarck, the House overwhelmingly rejecting a bill that would have allowed medical marijuana patients to possess a firearm. Federal law still lists marijuana as a controlled substance, making owning a gun illegal for users. Now, the House also approved a bill to expand the number of conditions that would qualify someone to have access to medical marijuana. That list includes anorexia, bulimia, anxiety, Tourette's syndrome, opioid withdrawal, migraines, rheumatoid arthritis, and more. To see the entire list, go to our website. The bill now goes to the Senate. A North Dakota state representative is recovering from injuries after hitting a moose with his car. Marvin Nelson is a Democrat from Rolla. He struck a moose Friday night about 5 miles south of Rock Lake in Towner County. The collision, as you saw, totaled his car. He suffered a minor concussion. His 2 granddaughters were in the car at the same time. The 3- and 5-year-olds were not injured. Nelson says it's because of their car seats.